My name is Kathleen Wesley, and I am a Buddhist minister with the Columbus, Ohio Karma Thegsum Choling Tibetan Buddhist Meditation Center. Buddhism traces its history back to 600 BC, about 600 years before the birth of Christ, in the part of northern India where there were city-states governing much of the land. The founder of the faith is Prince Siddhartha Gautama, who was born into royal circumstances. And when he was a child, his parents consulted a holy man about his future. And the holy man said, well, if this young person is kept away from all the sufferings of the world, he will become a great king. However, if he is exposed to the sufferings of the world, he will renounce his kingdom and become a wandering holy man like me. Well, the king didn't want that type of future for his son. He wanted him to become a great ruler. And therefore, for his entire life, Prince Siddhartha Gautama was hidden away from the world. His father provided every possible type of education. He was provided with a bride when he was 16 years old and had a son. And having finished his duty to the kingdom, Prince Siddhartha became restive and began to think, there must be more to life than this. Finally, about the age of 29, he asked his father if he could take a tour of the city-state and see what lay beyond the castle walls. And his father said, well, yes, but he sent a chaperone with him. After going on this tour with his chaperone, Prince Siddhartha saw everything that his father had been warned not for him to see. He saw death, he saw sickness, and he saw aging. And these three sights really struck him to the core, a young person never exposed to suffering. It hit him all at once with a great power, because he knew that even if he had become the greatest king who ever lived, even if he had opened up his treasury and given everything away, he would still not resolve the problem of aging, sickness, and death. Therefore, he decided to look within himself and practiced meditation for 6 years at the side of the Narayana River. He decided to get up from his ascetic life and practice a type of what he called a middle way of meditating. He took nourishment, sat on soft grass under the shade of a tree, and began to meditate. It is said that sometime during that night, he attained a deep state of awareness, and that deep state of awareness led to a type of illumination or wisdom. And after that, many people began to come to him and ask him for teachings. And that was when Prince Siddhartha became Shakya Muni, the sage of the Shakya clan, also known as the Buddha, the awakened one. When the Buddha began teaching, he taught something called the Four Truths known by the Noble. The first of these is that suffering is part of life. We may try to run from it, we may try to hide from it, but suffering remains a part of our life. And everything we do to struggle against suffering only makes it worse. So coming to an understanding that suffering is part of life and being able to accept that is the first of these noble truths. The second is that suffering has a cause. The cause is not the neighbor or the boss or even your situation in life. The cause of suffering is clinging and fixation. That was what the Buddha taught. Some people use the word desire, but I think a closer word for us is fixation. We fixate on people, things, ideas, situations, and clinging to these things so tightly causes a great deal of suffering for us. So this is the second of the noble truths, the truth of the cause of suffering. The third noble truth is the truth of the solution to suffering. If suffering has a cause, then naturally it's going to have a solution. And if the cause of suffering is clinging and fixation, the solution is to let go. Letting go of the causes of suffering is the third noble truth. But the fourth noble truth is necessary, because If someone is suffering, we can't just say to them, oh, just let that go. We have to give them a method. And so the Buddha taught his Eightfold Noble Path, which can be briefed down into his 4 statements. Do no harm, practice virtue, and tame your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Now, the Buddha himself denied being a god. Therefore, Buddhism is unique in that you can't say that there is a Buddhist theology because the Buddha denied being divine. He also did not say he was a prophet of God. Therefore, we look at Buddha as a great saint, a great being who lived and showed us how to live. What seems to help me the most in my everyday life is the practice of mindfulness and the practice of loving kindness and compassion. The Buddha taught that until we understand our mind and how it works through the practice of placing one's attention on an object, and that when one's attention wanders, bringing it back, unless we can learn this skill of placing our attention on an object of meditation, such as the breath, and letting it remain there, and that when the attention wanders, we return it gently and kindly for a fresh start. This simple practice of mindfulness helps me in my everyday life because it allows me to, I guess you could say, hit the restart button on situations that arise for me in my life. The second practice that helps me a lot is the practice of loving kindness. There's actually such a thing as compassion meditation, where you can sit quietly and imagine your love spreading out from you and going to others. First, the people you care for, and then the people you don't know, and then farther and farther and farther out, extending love outward to all sentient beings, even including people you have trouble with. And in doing this, we let go of our dislike for others, and we begin to entertain the notion and entertain the idea that we could have compassion for them. And so these 2 skills, mindfulness and compassion, are the most important for me in my everyday life. People who are interested in learning more about Buddhism can go to any of the websites of buddhanet.net, believe it or not, BUDDHANET.net.